Good evening, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. And Liz Cheney's still out there destroying what's left of her brand of being a Republican. She is everything of a Democrat that people Wyoming were smart to reject her in the primary. And she is now just a crybaby out there hoping that the mainstream media continues to pay attention to her, because they view her as a useful Republican in order to push Democrat narratives. And that's what they're using Liz Cheney, and she's all for being used by the Democrat media in that sense, so she's out there still. She's threatening to vote Democrat, who I'm sure she probably voted Democrat her whole life, to be honest with you guys. She just found being a Republican maybe in that state was an easy way, and just to pretend to be conservative to get into Congress to get good kickbacks. Remember, we talked about how much money she earned while she was in Congress over, well, the $40-some million in the last 4 years. So yeah, don't tell me that she was going because she was a strong conservative. But anyway, Liz Cheney out there, of course, making a fool of herself as she typically does. Carrie Legs or a slander. Of course, Carrie Legs on a roll, man. Carrie Legs took care of the McCain dynasty. She even spat into the eye of the Bush-Cheney dynasties. She's just an amazing woman. But here is Liz Cheney once again complaining and whining to the mainstream media about how unfair it is, and how the Republican Party is no longer the party of her dads. I'm glad we're no longer the party of warmongers. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we are a freedom-based party who's looking to elevate domination over a lot of the communist stuff and the Marxist garbage coming out for the Democrat Party, right? Alright. So let's go and take a look what we have here. It says bitter loser. Leishan says she won't vote for Harry Hegman, the Republican who beat her in the White Emily primary. Oh no, it's over. It's over for Harry Hangman. Loser Liz Cheney has said that she will not vote for Harriet Hickman, the Republican who defeated her in her primary for the House seat. Hickman beat Cheney her primary in August, and after being heavily endorsed by former President Donald Trump, Cheney made the promise during a conversation at the Texas Tribune Festival. Cheney suffered a precipitous loss in the Republican primary for her Wyoming seat for her role on the committee. And she said Saturday that she would not vote for the Republican nominee for her seat. Harry Hickman in the general election. The Texas Tribune reported trainees' complaint is Hegman still has questions about the 2020 election, as many do in this nation, and it's not illegal to question elections. It's not. Democrats have done it for decades. Democrats always question elections when they lose, since not against the First Amendment to do so. You are, I think, protected, right? People like her don't want elections questioned because they know what they did. And I'm sure Liz Cheney maybe had a part in it, starting to think more and more that she may have. Harry is a member of Wyoming State Bar, and she's swore an oath to the Constitution as a member of the Wyoming State Bar, Cheney said, and she continues to make the assertion that somehow the 2020 election was taken, and has said many of the same things that have resulted in people like Giuliani having their license suspended, and I know that she knows better. There are many people around this country who are making claims they know not to be true. And I don't think anybody should vote for any of them. Cheney said. Continue. So she's, if we're going to base on that, all her friends of the Democratic Party should not be running for election at all, because they all deny the election, and 2016 they call President Trump an illegitimate president for his whole presidency. So no, don't ever allow yourself to be lectured by these enemy of the people. It's what they are. The outgoing congressman wouldn't. Who couldn't even win her House re-election was asked by the Texas Tribune CEO, Evan Smith, if that included running for president, was she would not rule out, I certainly will do whatever it takes to make sure Donald Trump isn't anywhere close to the Oval Office. Cheney said she later added, it's really important not to just immediately jump to the horse race, and think about what we need as a country. The Rhino also promised to leave the party if Trump does become a nominee. Please leave now. Nobody wants you. I'm going to make sure Donald Trump makes sure he's done, and Dominique Cheney said, and if he is the nominee, won't be a Republican, just like the Democrats were going to leave the country if President Trump was elected president back in 2016. And yet, they say just like they were gonna leave and George W. Bush was president back in 2004. And they still stayed. Yeah, They're not going anywhere. Getting rid of this committee vice chair also complains about House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who says she should not become Speaker House. I actually do agree with Liz Cheney on that point that Kevin McCarthy should not be the Speaker. We need someone who's way more based, that Kevin McCarthy, and somebody that will actually hold power to the executive branch, and do the will of the people. So yeah, I agree with you, Liz Cheney. He's about milquetoast as it gets. I'm sure that Frank Luntz is bet buddy, sits there and writes most of his stuff, and while still claiming to be Republican, Cheney also seemed to warn against a Republican majority, because it would empower people she does not like. She said Cheney maintain that she is an advert conservative on policy issues, voting in near lockstep with Trump's legislative agenda, when he was officed to Tribune report. But she warned a House Republican majority would give outsized power to members who have staunch allies at the former president, and efforts to keep the White House, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Jim Jordan. Yeah, these people like Liz Cheney would rather be in the minority, would rather be in a minority. People like her, Ben Shapiro, all of these people, conservative, think would rather be in the middle mountain, excuse me, that majority and the minority. They don't want to lead, they don't want to actually lead the nation with ideas that they claim that they adhere to now. They would rather make profit from being in the minority, complaining what's happening. We want to win. We want to take this country in a direction which is going to be prosperous for all Americans. And now, they can't go anywhere without getting booed off stage. How many times have we covered Joe Biden getting a boot into oblivion, getting heckled, getting yelled at his wife, Joe Biden essentially the same thing, Kathy Hochul. I mean, the list and the examples go on, and on. Outside of their deep blue Democrat strongholds and blue little enclaves, Democrats can't go anywhere. Nobody wants anything to do with them. And that phenomenon is growing. It's becoming more and more powerful as the Democrat Party. And of course, by extension, Democrat leaders grow increasingly less and less popular, less favorable in the public eye. Nobody wants anything to do with these people. And we have another example to add to the pile of previous examples of another Democratic getting booed off stage. This time, it's Nancy Pelosi showing up at a concert and getting booed into oblivion, just like we've seen many times before. The Democrats are not as popular as they think they are. In fact, their increasingly less popular people are starting to frankly hate them, feel a severe disdain for them. Secondly, that people are sick of politics being associated with the entertainment industry and being shoved down their throats. I mean, when people are trying to enjoy a night out and go to a concert, I think the last thing that they want to see is Nancy Pelosi pop out of the backstage and lecture them about abortion and I don't know, mud democracy or something. But those are the two topics for this video. After I show you guys what happened to Nancy, we've got some stuff to get into. So let's roll the tape. Alright, so take a look at this must-see video. Crazy Nancy gets booed off stage at Global Citizens Musical Festival in deep blue New York City. Even the New York City Marxists can't stand this liar and freak. Nancy Pelosi was greeted with a sea of boos at the New York City Global Citizen Music Festival on Saturday. It was so loud that you could barely hear her talk. Even New York City leftists don't want their country destroyed by these idiots. Here's the video. I was at the Global Citizen Festival in Central Park, Manhattan, and they brought Nancy Pelosi out and she got heavily booed. Yikes, folks, not exactly a good look. Now is it pretty bad optics? I mean, just consider what I was mentioning in the intro, that these leftoid goons, the top brass of the Democrat Party, these Democrat establishment politicians. I was making the point that they can't leave their progressive deep blue strongholds and enclaves, but even a New York City. This is what Nancy Pelosi has met with, is very similar to what we saw in Minnesota with Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar showing up to a Somali concert, being brought up on stage by Somali artists visiting from Africa in a majority Somali community in Minnesota, and Ilhan Omar was greeted like this. A little flashback to jog your memory. These Democrats are becoming so unlikable. There is such a disdain building up for them. They've become so hyper-divisive, so out of touch, so unlikable that, like I've been saying, they can't go anywhere because there's legitimate anger and angst that people feel in connection with them. Look, the whole thing with Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans being this threat to democracy and all this nonsense. It's all manufactured. It's media manufactured. People are told to believe it. So they do, but they don't actually have this anger towards Donald Trump. I mean, if you think about it, for years under Donald Trump was nothing but incredible economic success and prosperity for America. There's no real anger towards Donald Trump. There's only faux Trump derangement syndrome outrage. But what these Democrats, it's a different story, folks. We're talking about people who lost everything, people who lost their jobs, people who are currently seeing their 401k obliterate, people who got locked in their own homes for God knows how long, depending on where you live. You know, the list goes on and on and on. People who are frustrated as parents that their kids are being taught complete nonsense in public schools. There's a legitimate anger, there's grievances, and these grievances materialize when these people make public appearances, and the situation is worsened by the total tone deafness, and lack of basic human connection and emotion, because there's actual suffering, there's actual anger, real problems that Americans are facing. These Democrats are in many cases, or in almost all cases, the cause of these issues. And yet they continuously pat themselves on the back, marketing themselves as the Democrats, the champions of the people, as they continue to send you into poverty with their awful, draconian, despicable, fascist, authoritarian policies. And I really believe that these booths are a microcosm of a general sentiment that's far more wide-reaching. This is the way that people feel. People are pissed, legitimately pissed, rightfully so, and that anger, no matter how hard Democrats try to steer it in the direction of those pesky MAGA Republicans in the January 6th, insurrectionists, that anger is directed at Democrats. People are pissed. Everybody that I speak to. I speak to so many different people, people who are not political at all, not even necessarily from a political perspective, but just talking to people about how they feel about lockdowns and everything that transpired over the last 2 years, all the anti-energy policies and the ridiculous spending. Everybody that I speak to feels the same way, even people that you would think as total liberals are able to admit the basic reality that we are in the position that we are in today, thanks to liberal policies, thanks to left-wing leaders. So I think this is a microcosm of that exact idea that I was telling you guys. The Democrats are not as popular as they think they are. And the second thing that I want to get into here is that obviously, who the hell ordered a side dish of Nancy Pelosi while going to a damn concert? That was stupid. I love comedy. I love comedy shows. In fact, I just saw Chris Rock in Detroit, but every single time it's a constant theme to every single comedy show that I go to. There always has to be a jab at Donald Trump, a jab at January 6th, or a jab at Republicans, and well, for the most part, I just immediately disregard it and move on. Most of the time. It's an uninformed take. Most of the time, the comedian in question doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. People are constantly bringing in politics within the realm of entertainment. Leave politics out of it. When people are trying to have a good time going to a comedy show, going to a concert, watching a movie, watching a TV show, the last thing they want to see is Nancy Pelosi. People are ordering beers, cocktails, maybe a little bit of liquor, and maybe some food, and of course entertainment. They didn't order a Nancy Pelosi abortion lecture. And the idea that totally ignorant, uneducated entertainers should be shoving their political beliefs and their political leaders in our faces is a total slap in the face. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Beyoncé can dance, she can sing. People say that Jay-Z can rap, but I've yet to see it. Obviously, I'm kidding. But when people say that Jay-Z is the greatest rapper ever, do it. Give me a friggin' break. But the point is within their own domains, within the music industry. Of course, I get it within the world of politics. You're way too busy running massive empires, writing songs, choreographing dances, and doing anything to be well informed within the realm of politics. I don't need to listen to you for politics. I don't need to listen to your uninformed political takes. Go away. Leave politics to the people who live and breathe politics, to the people who study history, to the people who understand policy, to the people who have a basic understanding and grasp of economics and finances. Not people who wear politics like a social justice sleeve on their Instagram account, putting their fist up with some dumb, empty political slogan, like nobody should be poor, everybody should have food, everybody should have house. Those are not developed political opinions. Those are toddler political opinions. That's what you say when you're like 12 years old, and you see a homeless person for the first time and you go, homeless people should have homes. That is not an informed political stance or belief. And so my message to the entertainment industry, which is obviously going to fall on deaf ears, and really doesn't mean anything, it's just stop. And also, what do you think's going to happen? You know, the phenomenon of get won't go broke? What do you think's gonna happen when people are at a concert, people of all different walks of life and political persuasions? What do you think's gonna happen when you bring friggin' rules for the But not for me, Queen Mary Antoinette Nancy Pelosi on stage. Obviously, she's going to get booed into oblivion, because entertainment and politics don't mix, and people are pissed off at the ruling liberal elite who have taken so much from them. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below